Hello, leading ladies. Welcome to week 5, step 4. And this week we're going to talk all about millionaire mindset mastery, removing fear and procrastination and starting to develop that millionaire success mind. Okay, so we've been setting our goals and finding our intentions and laying our foundations in these first few weeks. And yet, for some of you, you may not yet be seeing the results that you were hoping to see. Or perhaps you're not experiencing the changes that you wanted to have had by now. That's okay. What we're going to talk about today may address some of those issues for you, because a lot of what you might be experiencing may be down to your mindset. So let's take a look at what might be holding you back. Like a yacht setting sail, if we've forgotten to turn around and undo the moorings, then quite easily setting sail and moving forward is going to be quite challenging. Which is a metaphor, I guess, for what our mindset can do for us. So I'd like to briefly read for you a little passage from a really great book, a favourite of mine, which is this one here, The Brain That Changes Itself by Norman Doidge. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about neuroplasticity and the amazing effect that our brain has on us and our life and our success. So bear with me as I read a little passage from this book. So it's about some research or a study done by a gentleman by the name of Pascual Leone. And what he did with this test was he had 2 groups, and in them he wanted to test out people's imagination and the power of our imagination. So what he did was he took 2 groups of people who had never studied piano before, and he had them learn a sequence of notes on a piano, showing them which fingers to move, letting them hear the notes as they were played. The members of one group were known as the mental practice group, and what they did was sit in front of an electronic keyboard for 2 hours a day for 5 days. And they imagined in their mind's eye playing that sequence of music and hearing it. A second group was known as the physical practice, and they literally put their hands on the keyboard and practiced playing. And they did the same, 2 hours a day for 5 days. Both groups had their brains mapped and were being scanned as they were doing these, both before, during and after the test. And then they were asked to play at the very end the sequence of music, and a computer measured the accuracy of their performance. What Pascual Leone found was that both groups learned to play the sequence and both showed very similar brain maps. Remarkably, mental practice alone produced the same physical changes, so the same physical structural changes happened in the motor system as actually playing the piece physically. By the end of the 5th day, the changes in the motor signals to the muscles were the same in both groups. And the people who were just imagining were as accurate as the people who were actually playing. So this is quite amazing, and what scientists call mental practice or mental rehearsal is very much about what we do when we memorize answers for a test, or it might be we learn lines for a play or performance. Or perhaps you've been through a presentation. You know, you're going to do a presentation, you're going to pitch something to a client. And how we mentally rehearse, perhaps it's days and weeks before, or perhaps it's in the car on your way and you're mentally preparing, rehearsing what you're going to say. That's exactly what they call mental practice. And what it really stems from, and what's interesting for me, is it shows us that we can change our brains by simply imagining things. That from a neuroscientific point of view, imagining an act is almost the same as doing the act. So when people close their eyes and visualize an object, and I'd like you to close your eyes for a minute, and I want you to visualize the letter A, just the letter A. So what is happening is, if you were actually imagining the letter A and I'd drawn it on a piece of paper and held that up, you just imagining that letter A in your own mind's eye would actually light up the same parts in your visual cortex in your brain. So it doesn't matter if we're physically seeing it, physically doing it, or even imagining it, it actually creates the same kind of results. So that's absolutely fascinating and magnificent for thinking about our own success in our own lives and business. So what these imaginary experiments show is how truly integrated and imagination and action are. They both go hand in hand together. So despite the fact we often think they're apart, really what we want to do is keep bringing them together. But also one of the exciting things is the research shows that the faster you can imagine it, the faster you can imagine doing something, the faster you can imagine getting to $1 million, the faster you can imagine what your marketing strategy or something like that might look like in your business, in actual fact, the faster it is that you begin to be able to do it when you're taking the action. So I encourage all of you to imagine your brain for a moment as a slippery slope. So imagine ski fields. We have ski fields here in our brains. So imagine that it's a slippery slope and you're going to go sled riding. And today I want you to go sled riding on your brain. It could mean you come down the slope and you could end up anywhere. Okay, big deal. But if I asked you to go for a second sled ride, so that's twice down your sled, down your slippery slope of snow, more than likely what you'll find is the second time you'll actually fall into the pattern of what you did the first time, because by now your tracks will have made just a slight little groove in the snow, and so it's easier to kind of follow those grooves, and your sled wants to naturally fall into those grooves. And our brain is very similar. We have these grooved paths of where our brain has been before and where it's easier, quicker to go down. So these mental tracks get laid down. Imagine if you'd actually gone sledding on your ski slope all day. By the time you've been 10, 20, 30 times up and down that slope, can you imagine how strong those grooves would be? How much thickness and the bulges of the snow that would be on either side? And our brain is just the same when it comes to laying down our habits. Good or bad, doesn't matter what they are, the more we practice them, more we lay down those grooves of snow. Unless, of course, we make a decision to put a roadblock in the way, or we decide that we're going to go another way. So it is possible to get out of the rut or the groove that we've created by our sleds. But it's not easy, and it takes a lot of willpower and persistent consistency. So what we want to do is lay our tracks and our grooves positively from the beginning as much as possible. So this week, leading ladies, I'm encouraging you all to consider, what are the tracks and grooves that you have in your brain already? Are they supporting you? Are they getting you where you want to go? Or perhaps they're getting you in the way and they're taking you off course. So I want you to really think about, where are your tracks and grooves? What limiting beliefs or mindsets do you have? Perhaps your attitude might be getting in the way. What habits or actions are sabotaging your success? Think about those for a moment. So when we talk about people who are victors, people above the line, they typically are people who see themselves as in control and creating their life. You know, I create my life is what a victor would say. But people who are victims and they're dipping below that line, they usually believe life happens to me. You know that saying, SH, something, something, happens. Life happens to me. So what we want to do is get back up above that line, get up above so that we believe I create my life, and we get back in control and we create our own grooves exactly where we want them to be. Why? Because being a victim puts you into that blame, excuses, denial, kind of goes round and round and round, and it's not a pleasant place to be. And often the gap between being above the line or below the line can be quite subtle. It could be the difference between, are you playing the game of business to win, or are you playing the game of business not to lose? Very subtle difference, but can make a huge difference to the kinds of results that you're getting. Perhaps you find that you're giving up the great to keep the good. Think about that for a moment. Are you accepting the ordinary? And are you just staying comfortable in your business and life? Where do you sense your mindset's at? It's not good enough to want goals. You have to be committed to them. You have to build those grooves exactly where you want them to be. To grow these neural pathways that support a millionaire mind, you have to focus on opportunities. You have to focus on solutions and not on problems or obstacles. So my final thought for you this week, ladies, is I encourage you to hold positive thoughts and intentions in your mind. Know that you will always have your needs met. So forgive yourself. Don't be so harsh. Release any guilt, fear, or shame. And in particular, ladies, because I know we're not so good at this, release those perfectionist tendencies. Tenacity is what it's about. It's about sticking to your decisions, building the grooves positively and in exactly the place you want them to be, and ignoring the outside forces or temptation to move your tracks elsewhere. So again, you might close your eyes to finish this. And I want you to imagine that oak tree that I talk about, with your roots tapped deeply, planted into Mother Earth. Feel your solid strength in your trunk. Feel your steady growth as you go up and build your business. Your branches may twist and turn as you flex and the wind blows, yet your unwavering tension will ensure that no faint wind will sway you from your mission. This week I encourage you to build your millionaire mindset, and I want you to do that by being in charge. Be in charge of your mind. Be in charge of your body. Be in charge of your schedule. Keep them focused. Keep yourself focused on your goals and your target, and you will grow the neural pathways of a millionaire mind. That's it for this week, leading ladies. I'm Heidi Alexandra Pollard, signing off until next week. Have a great week.